Hi everyone, this is Danai, and today I want to talk to you about how to maintain a large repertoire. As you can see, I am in a concert hall. I'm right now in Ankara in Turkey, and I'm on a little tour of Turkey. This is my second concert. Yesterday I played in Istanbul, and today the concert is here tonight. It's a very impressive hall. I don't know if you can really see the whole extent of it, but as you can tell, it has little round windows which kind of make it look like a submarine, and the entire building is very impressive. The whole thing is huge and gigantic, and it looks like a big submarine surrounded by water. Really cool building. But I want to talk to you about how to maintain a large repertoire. So if you are interested in that, then keep on watching. So when talking about how to maintain a large repertoire, I like to refer to one of the things that a very famous violinist told me once when I asked him that exact question. Actually, I had a lot to do in a certain period, and I said, how can I practice it best, and how can I kind of organize my practice sessions the best in order for me to be able to maintain this large repertoire? And he said to me, and I don't want to mention his name because he's very famous, but he said to me, look, I only practice the things that I cannot play. And I found that very interesting. He basically said that all the things that he knows how to play and all the passages that work, he doesn't touch those. He only focuses on the things that are actually hard and that he actually cannot play well. And I thought that was very good advice, because you tend to kind of practice the entire piece and spend equal amounts of times on different passages, but that might not be the right way. The right way is to really focus on the hard stuff and the stuff that you were not that secure at, and then the rest kind of comes automatically. So as you can see, I'm right now at one of those windows. Out there, this is water. Very interesting building. So what does that mean specifically for your practice? It means that you have to really prioritize what you want to practice. And I would say that this prioritization goes in two steps. The first step is to prioritize the pieces. You have to see which pieces you want to practice. If, for example, you have 10 pieces that you have to practice in a certain period of time, think about which piece is most important at this moment. And then the second thing is you have to prioritize which passages of that piece you want to practice. I hope you're enjoying that I'm taking you on a little backstage tour of this concert building as well, whilst I'm filming this video. This kind of reminds me of like a James Bond construction. So, back to the actual video. So first of all, of course, you cannot practice every single piece every day. You'll have to probably divide and stretch your repertoire, depending on how large it is, onto 2, 3, or maybe even 4 days. And that's totally fine. You just have to focus on what's important or what's most important on that specific day. Now that very much depends on your situation. Are you practicing for concerts or exams or competitions, or are you just simply, quote unquote, simply practicing for you to maintain the repertoire? If you're practicing for deadlines, for concerts, exams, competitions, then of course you have to focus on what's coming up in the next deadline or the piece that you know least well. So let me give you an example. For me, the past 2 months were pretty full, and I really had to use that method. I had to maintain a large repertoire. I had Greek piano concerto, I had Beethoven 5th piano concerto, I had Mendelssohn 2nd piano concerto, and Bach piano concerto. So these are 4 piano concertos within 5 weeks to play, plus 2 different recital programs. And now this month I have 2 different piano concertos to play, Mozart piano concerto and Clara Schumann piano concerto, and again 2 different chamber music recital programs. So this is quite a large amount of repertoire, and what I did is I was always focusing on the next deadline. So if, let's say, the Mozart piano concerto is coming up, this is what I'll be focusing on the most. At the same time, I wasn't neglecting all the other pieces, but I was practicing them less, but just a little bit, regularly. What that means is that, for example, if I have the Mozart Piano Concerto coming up, I'll still look at the Clara Schumann Piano Concerto, but I'll maybe just play through a movement once slowly. This is not real practice, but it's still something that is going to make it go into my subconscious. And by doing that once per day, within 3 days, I have gone through the entire piano concerto slowly and somewhat have an idea of where my fingers have to go and what I have to play. Another important distinction is how well do you know the piece? So for me, for example, is it a piano concerto that I have already played and that I'm simply repeating, or is it a new piano concerto altogether? If it is a new piano concerto, it of course needs a lot more work than if it is an old piano concerto that I have already played and that I know. So looking at my previous month, the Bach concerto for me was new. It was the first time that I was going to play it. So I put in so much more work into that Bach concerto than into any of the other concerti that I played, because those were all concerti that I already knew and that I had played before. So while I was preparing for the upcoming deadlines, the Bach concerto was something that I was practicing every day anyway. Practicing the hard passages, practicing certain movements that were uncomfortable, playing through it slowly, focusing on another hard passage, always also including the Bach concerto in my practice. Another important question is how to structure your entire practice session in general. I would suggest that no matter how much amount of time you have, you always structure it in a similar way. I would suggest that you start out with a short warm-up, then you get into the new stuff, because that's the hardest, that's the one that takes the most energy, I would say. So you get into the new stuff, you practice those hard passages that you don't know that well yet and that you don't feel comfortable with yet. Then you go into the repertoire, so pieces that you already know but that you need to repeat and need to refresh and kind of awaken your memory again. So then you go into those pieces, and slow practice is a big thing here. Slow practice really helps you out when maintaining a large repertoire, especially when repeating pieces. I have made a video on the importance of slow practice, so definitely go check it out. Practice those pieces slowly. And I've also made a video on relearning old repertoire, which in this context is also very important. So I will link those two videos down below, because I think that they are also very important when talking about this subject. But generally, structure your practice in a way that, let's say, 60–70% of your time goes into new pieces, goes into learning those new uncomfortable passages, and then maybe 10% is warm-up, and the other 20% is repertoire stuff, where you relearn the old repertoire and refresh it. And as I mentioned at the beginning, don't be discouraged if a day goes by and you didn't manage to play all the pieces. That's completely unrealistic. So try to look at 3 days like you usually would look at one single day. And when 3 days go by, try to, as a goal, have played every single piece in your repertoire. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, that you enjoyed me talking about how to maintain a large repertoire whilst walking around the concert building of the Presidential Orchestra in Ankara. That was a very different way of making a video, but for me it kind of was the only way to get a video out today, since this is where I am right now and I don't really have a quiet room to film in. But I hope that you enjoyed it and that you like this format, and I hope that this answered your question, because the reason why I make this video is because I got this question quite a lot from you guys recently. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought. And I'm going to go back into the hall now and rehearse. See you next week. Bye.